Welcome to The Unfiltered Musician,
where we give you all the tea on life as a musician and how to navigate the industry.
This is episode number 6. What the Fright? Part 2. And welcome back to another episode of The Unfiltered Musician.
We're your hosts, Vanessa Perret
and Ryan Mancini. And today we'll be talking about 3 unconventional ways to combat stage fright. We really liked the discussion from last time and thought there are more things we can do for those that really struggle with anxiety. But first, weekly check-in. What's going on, Vanessa? What just happened recently?
I would say that we definitely had a really busy week. And it was just only one event that we actually had planned and coordinated. It was a benefit show for the church job that we work at. And it was fueling the fund that we get paid through. And so we had to put on this mini fall festival. And of course, us being the go-getters and thinking unnecessarily larger than we usually have to, we tried to make it much bigger. We were calling endless lists of food trucks and vendors in the area. And we had definitely started too late when we had thought of making it this big. And, especially for fall spooky season, there are festivals in every town happening every weekend. So everyone's usually booked in those times. And so we had to call all those people. We got a band together, and it was also really hard to get a band together that would play for free and also having them be good musicians. But we found excellent musicians. Shout out to those guys. Thank you so much. And the vocalists that we had.
Yes. If you stick around on my channel long enough, you'll be able to see those videos. I want to take at least something from that day and post it there. But it was really fun. We raised over $2,000 for the music program, which was
shocking.
Very shocking. I mean, if I'm being honest, I didn't even expect to make 500. But
the turnout physically wasn't great, but we also live streamed, and the church had asked us to do a social media takeover. And I think just doing that and using our social media following just boosted engagement on the church's account. So I had noticed from just a few posts that I did or taking over the stories and such, the engagement went up by like over 1,200 people. And usually they get about like 100 trickling in, less than 100. So quite the leap.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't even think they have over 100 people following on Instagram. So 1,200 is a pretty good jump.
And our show, it was Tiny Desk themed.
Tiny Desk themed, kinda. We took a couple songs, we changed the arrangements. A lot of Scary Pockets inspired. I'll put some of their links to some of the ones that we tried to do. Really fun arrangements. Scary Pockets rocks. But moving forward this week, on Friday, we have to leave. We are going to New Jersey. Vanessa has a Rock Fest concert that is happening. Tell us about that concert.
It's called Chowtoberfest. And it's CHOW, but it's the way you would pronounce one of the coordinator's last names, Chowdelli. And a bunch of different rock bands get together kind of from that area or the tri-state area. And we usually don't all play together, but this was actually somebody that hired me for private studio session gigs. And so now once a year, I at least perform with the Sonic Crusaders. That's their name. And yeah, we just perform like a bunch of 80s rock music and then stuff from the person who coordinated the recording sessions too, some of his own original music. And so it's kind of just a mix of a bunch of different stuff, and there's food, and it's a really good time, excellent people, great connections. So I love doing it every year.
Yeah, it's a good time. On my end of things, I just remembered. My first video reached 1 million views. First video to reach 1 million views.
Yes.
I'm going to put a picture of the one that I'm talking about. Probably like right here or something. Somewhere. Yeah, I'm touching it, I think. I don't know how I'm going to edit it, but it's going to be there. Yeah, Dimash Kudaibergen. A lot of people love this dude, but have not heard about him in the U.S. He hit a D8, which is higher than the piano can actually play. So it was like dolphin frequencies. But
It's like a new register. Like that's tea kettle register. I'm
Yeah.
officially calling it.
it's higher. It's higher than whistle tones. But yeah, 1 million views. It's crazy. And then also, I'm ready to announce the name of my new business. Drum roll, please.
Oh wait, on the pumpkin. Wait, I gotta put the. I can only be with one hand.
That was sad. But
Sorry.
Mancini Media LLC. That's my new video company. And we are working with luxury estates and country clubs, trying to get the video marketing all set up for those sorts of things.
And then hopefully I can take advantage of those benefits and be at those country clubs, just sitting and looking pretty, supporting. But hopefully that can sprinkle my way too.
One of my models for the ads. That's what we'll do.
Here I am.
That's what you can get. But yeah, that's the stuff going on this week. Let's jump right into the topic for today.
And also, when we had put a poll out last week asking people, do you experience performance anxiety and like where does it manifest in your body, which is also something we talked about last week. So if you haven't checked out our previous episode, What the Fright, part 1, definitely check it out because then it really makes sense with some of these responses. But we did get some comments on Instagram and some private messages. And so people were saying when they do feel that sort of anxiety, or someone said when they have to speak or sing in church, they feel like they have to go to the bathroom, and they put a poop emoji. And I definitely understand where they're coming from. It's like those butterflies. So I would say that their anxiety definitely manifests in their stomach. And that's a very common thing. Someone also said, my tummy big time. I like the word tummy. It's so cute. And they said they sweat. They said, usually it helps to stay focused on my breathing and distracted from the bad things that might happen, assuring myself I have everything I need to do for what I need to do. And I thought that was really, really awesome of a response. So they kind of have a general idea of how to combat that anxiety for them personally. And someone also said praying and deep breathing, that works for them personally. And I had gotten a few other responses too. I got to check my private messages. But let me see. Hold on. Hold your horses. Okay, so someone had also said, let me see, going into activity.
I'm surprised you said nothing about my horse neigh.
I'm just so used to your town foolery, Ryan. So someone said, my throat and chest sucks.
Okay.
They put that in caps. It sucks when I have to sing. And I was like, no, bro, that stinks. Like, what do you do to help it? And they said warm tea, massages, and deep breathing, and water. They said room temp, of course. I really like that. I talk, especially with my students, about room temperature water. Ryan thinks I'm like a conspiracy theorist over it. But there's science behind it. If you want to know it, DM me. But it seems like there's an emphasis on that deep breathing. But whether it is truly effective or not for these people, hopefully from the previous episode, you can kind of take from those personal routines and regimens that we talked about, specifically with breathing. So hopefully that helps you.
Yeah.
But it was cool to hear from people and, hear where it manifests and that we're all kind of going through the same thing, whether you are, a professional musician or, someone high up in business or corporate ladder. Like we all go through that stuff. We're all human and we can, all kind of connect in that way, but there are solutions around it. And that's also why we're talking about this stuff today too.
Right. This stuff applies to anyone that's doing public speaking. So like you said, if you're high up in your corporate business and you have to speak publicly and that just makes you nervous and you'd rather just be doing the important work, there are ways to combat that. So first disclaimer I want to say, we are not trying to give you medical advice. I'm not a medical professional. Vanessa is not either. These are just things that we have heard that actually help people, specifically the people that struggle with diagnosed anxiety, or for those that just, these holistic approaches that we gave you last week just don't work. Sometimes deep breathing long enough is not going to do anything for someone. And so here's what you have to do. First topic is hypnosis.
And might I just add, I mean, yeah, we are not doctors giving out medical advice, but I would look so cute in a white lab coat. Maybe I should add that to my wardrobe. I don't have one of those, so maybe I have some room for it.
I'm going to skip this topic.
Anyway, hypnosis.
Okay.
Hypnosis is something that I have personally not tried, but I had come across a few years ago. There is a speech language pathologist. Her YouTube handle is Katarina H. And she had kind of dove into the topic of hypnotherapy and utilizing what's called a hypnotherapist. And just in case you kind of didn't know like what a hypnotherapist was, because of course I really didn't until I did a lot of research, hypnotherapy or the act of using a hypnotherapist, it's a heightened state of concentration and focused attention. So it's guided by a trained certified hypnotist or hypnotherapist. So not someone that you'd see at like a birthday party or when you're first going to college and that's your orientation. It is not that. But hypnosis allows you to be more open to suggestions, to making healthful changes in your perceptions, sensations, emotions, memories, thoughts, or behaviors. So you have to find a trained hypnotherapist, and there are some in every state. All you got to do is just look them up on good old Google. But hypnotherapy is a thing. And if you even look up Katarina H on YouTube, if you even just look up Katarina H hypnotherapy, there's a few YouTube videos where she talks about that in depth. And she also interviews a hypnotherapist from the UK. Her name is Katie Crooks, and it's actually really interesting. And they also give some exercises as well that you can try at home. But I would definitely look into it if you're interested in that sort of thing.
All right, I have a question for you because I have not researched this myself. So, is this something that is going to last a long time? Is this something that we have to do every week, like a regular therapist? How does this work?
It's definitely something that, have a consultation with a hypnotherapist first before you get into anything. Just kind of like if you're seeing a new doctor or, even just going to therapy in general, you have to have a consultation to see what they can do for you and kind of gain that sense of trust. But from what I had been researching, it really depends on the person, whether it is, that method or way of thinking is permanent per se. So I guess it's based off of your own perceptions. So there really isn't any concrete research of whether or not changing those certain behaviors, perceptions, emotions is kind of a permanent change, because you never know if something in your life can change that perception. So it really is kind of a gray area of whether or not that will be a permanent fix per se. But yeah, definitely do some research and find a certified hypnotherapist. Like, don't go walking in anywhere crazy, no dark alleys, and someone's like, "Hey, I'm a hypnotist." Like, find your good, credible sources.
Right. And I would say that's probably still like a holistic approach. It's not a conventional one. Like, not many people are going to look for a hypnotist. It's not the first thing on your mind to do. But hey, if you really feel like that's something it's worth trying, you have tried all these other things you talked about and you need something else to try, go ahead. Set up a consultation. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are willing to do a free consultation first to make sure it actually works for you. But let's move on to our second topic, which is beta blockers. So beta blockers is something that's usually prescribed for people who have heart conditions, so high blood pressure, or an infrequent heartbeat. No, I'm not saying that right. It's, let me look this up, irregular heartbeat. Yes, I want to make sure I have that right. I guess infrequent.
Our heartbeat's just not deciding to show up. They're just deciding not to show up. They're like, I'll come back later.
An unreliable heartbeat. That's a better word for me to say.
Dang.
So beta blockers, actually 30 million Americans are prescribed beta blockers each year.
I just thought it was only the Kardashians, because I know Kourtney Kardashian. No, Khloe. Khloe uses them. She talks about them all the time. Her and her mom.
It makes sense. I mean, they're under a lot of pressure for the things that they have to do. A lot of people expect them to be perfect because that's just the persona that media has made for them.
But hey,
they have to be perfect. But
it's
beta
also
blockers
musicians. Help. I mean, when you get to a certain tier, you're also put under that certain kind of pressure, and it's pretty valid.
Right. So beta blockers, they're meant to decrease your fight or flight response. So when we're in high stress situations, adrenaline starts pumping throughout the body, and it's collecting on these cells, and they're getting you all charged up, ready to go, and you're having a little more energy than you need for the situation at hand. So, like you're saying, like the Kardashians, if you're going on a TV show, late night talk show, and you just want to be relaxed and calm, beta blockers are a way to slow down the heart rate. That's the biggest thing that a beta blocker is going to do. And let me find the actual sentence that I found while researching this. So, beta blockers, if you're getting off-label, so these are the ones that they can be prescribed, but off-label, you can also get them over the counter. So it's going to decrease your heart rate. It's going to get rid of a shaky voice and hands, sweating, dizziness. So those usual responses that you have to anxiety, they're going to lessen. We're going to get rid of those physical reactions. Okay, so you're just going to feel a little less stressed in the moment. But, I mean, there obviously are some side effects, just like with any other pill that you take. And unfortunately, one of these side effects is increasing anxiety. So
it's so not funny, but like it's counterintuitive.
yes. So I'm going to take an anxiety reducing pill, but there's a possibility that it might actually cause more anxiety. So obviously talk to your doctor. Like I said, we're not medical professionals, but maybe you have a history of those sort of medications not working for you, and they'll be able to tell you, like, this sort of label is not going to work for you. This one might. This one has a history of doing that. This one has a history of doing this. Okay?
Or maybe you may be the one that it works for you. And if that's the case, congrats. You've done it. You've beat beta blockers.
Yeah. And obviously take the prescribed amount. Like, don't overdo it. If you're super stressed and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I'm opening for Coldplay and there's 50,000 people in the audience. And it's like, oh, I got to take some beta blockers. And you decide to take more than you need. Like, it's going to put you in a bad scenario. So
Watch
let's not
yourself.
do that. It's messing with your normal heart's response to what's going on. So you have to be careful. That's why I'm saying unconventional ways. This is only if you need it. Don't push yourself over the edge if you don't have to. Stick to that deep breathing if possible. But beta blockers, if you need it, talk to a doctor. Cool?
Cool.
Awesome. Let's move on to the third topic, which is CBD.
Yeah, CBD oil specifically, because I do have some experience of using that for anxiety. So maybe start of college, I was like, oh, I wonder, because I know CBD oil can lessen stress and just kind of relax the entire being. So I tried it out using CBD oil and I ingested it what's called sublingually, which means that I just place the oil under my tongue and kind of let it absorb for a little bit before swallowing. But you can also get CBD pills and take those capsules or orally, or you can even add CBD oil to your food and drinks and stuff. But I had consumed it sublingually. And in my experience, me personally, in everything, it's not a one size fits all for everybody, but I noticed with CBD oil, it wasn't super effective for me. I would feel kind of a literal wave of relaxation when it was under my tongue resting there and I would swallow it, but it would go away probably within 5 minutes. And, maybe if I had paired it with some deep breathing or those breathing tactics that we had talked about in the previous episode, maybe it would have continued on with those, positive, relaxing effects. But me personally, I didn't notice that CBD oil in itself was a huge help for my anxiety years ago, but I haven't tried it since. It's been about 5 years, but it could be something that works for you too. The only thing is you want to be mindful of whether CBD oil is legal in the state that you live. So even though it's not full on THC oil, it could have some remnants of THC in it. And so some states are like, nope, unless I did read, I think maybe Idaho was like, oh, unless it's 0.0% THC.
Right, which is very hard because CBD doesn't occur naturally within nature. So, like, you're going to have the full spectrum, CBD and THC, in whatever product you decide to extract it from. So it's very hard to get completely 0.0%. I think the legal limit for FDA is 0.3%. So you might have some THC in there, which for those of you that really care about drug testing, like if you have to do it for a certain workplace, it it might not work for you. I mean, maybe you can talk to your employer. Maybe they'll understand, like, this is something that I have to take in order to calm myself down for my gigs. It's not that I'm smoking all the time, and I don't know, that I'm a bad influence for the work environment. I don't understand drug testing, but that's a thought that I think an employer would have about THC. But it's supposed to calm you down and make sure you're doing your research and finding out like which companies have a history of making really good CBD products, because there are some that could just be like trashing. And it's like, oh, there's 10% THC in there. Then all of a sudden, you're accidentally getting high for your performance, which is totally not helpful. Some of you might be like, all right, now I'm far past relaxed and I'm too relaxed. Now I can't actually focus on being on beat with the other people next to me. And it's just going to be a complete mess because I am not focused on the moment.
So yeah, bottom line, just, make sure you're talking to your primary care doctor and getting your information from trusted sources. But now you kind of know these exist if you didn't know that they already did. Hypnosis, CBD oil, beta blockers, all non-conventional things that you can now try to gain more information from and see if it is right for you. So say if those breathing tactics and the other things that we talked about, the holistic ways of approaching stress relief are just not working, then you can try these out too. And again, it's not a one size fits all. And you just got to kind of discover and explore and see what works best for you, essentially.
Right. And I know in the last episode we said, combine these different ways so that you can have a lot easier way to de-stress yourself. But for these three things, I'm personally not going to recommend that.
Don't combine them.
Don't take pills. And also do CBD. Like, that's just too much in the moment, and then you're going to end up not being able to get on stage to perform, which that's a scary thought, but, like, please take care of yourself. Like, talk to a doctor. If it really is affecting you that much that you can't go on stage and push through the stress of the moment or use that energy for good and just have it help your performance or enhance it, then take a deep breath and talk to a professional. Okay? And that's going to conclude this episode of The Unfiltered Musician.
If you liked this episode, give us a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to see our other musical content.
Yes, and message us with suggestions about what you want to hear next at unfilteredmusician.podcast on Instagram or unfilteredmusician@gmail.com. We are here for you, and see you next Sunday.
Bye.
Peace.